warm soon. Cool. Do we need to wait for Jose to do like live stream anything? All is good? Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm Emily Rooker. I just did my artist's residency here at Zaratan in December, so I was here from the 1st until the 31st. I met some of you out in the main area, but yeah, I'm Emily. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my project, how I developed it, and then play you some of the songs that I wrote for this project. Yeah, here we go. Click. This is me. I'm Emily Rooker. It's like hooker, but with an R. And that's how you will remember how to spell it. I grew up in Michigan in the US, which is like in the Midwest, lots of corn, lots of deer, lakes, a very pastoral kind of childhood that I had. And now I live in Memphis, Tennessee, Elvis's homeland. I am a musician first. I was watching RuPaul's Drag Race, and he said to the queens that were competing that you should know what you're good at and apply that to everything. And I took that to heart, and so I think of myself as a musician first. Like, that's the way I see the world, through music. I'm a vocalist. I've been singing literally since I was 3. Like, as soon as I could talk, I was singing. So that is how I like perceive of the world. And when I'm writing projects, now that I'm branching into theater and poetry and some other things, usually always still part of the process is music. Like, I'll write a song and then think about that in a poem, or I'll like be writing through a narrative and I'll have to start with the songs before I can apply like a storyline to something. So I grew up doing theater from the time I was a child. I was 8 years old, like begging my mom to let me audition for our community theater. So I have a theater background. Like, I did theater all the way through college. And then I kind of like took a break from that so that my life could just like be fucked up and fall apart for like a few years. And then when I came back to being an artist again, I was doing music, and then eventually found my way back to theater by completing this body of work called The Long Goodbye, which started as an album. I wrote it about this time period in my life where like all these people who were close to me like died in this really short succession, and it was just really horrible. And so I like wrote my way through that period of time, and I had this album that was really important to me, and I really wanted people to hear it. And I was like, if I just do a CD release show like in some little bar in Memphis, like no one's gonna come. So I decided to, hello, welcome. So I decided to make a rock opera. So I put like a narrative to these songs, which were kind of already narrative anyway, because it was like telling about this time period in my life. So yeah, I got a cast and crew of like over 30 people, and we independently fundraised through Kickstarter, and I rented the theater myself. Like, I wasn't part of a theater company, and we put the whole thing on. And so hundreds and hundreds of people heard the album. So I was like, slay, that was way better than a CD release party. Yeah, and so that also like sort of re-inspired my passion for theater and being on stage and collaborating with other people to make something like on a grander scale. And so I decided like that was something I wanted to continue sort of pursuing. So right now I have one act, like a 70-page act, and an hour or so of music written for a play about rats. Which is not what I came here to do. And then I started writing another sort of like mixture music and theater here during my residency. So Maria Alone is the title of the project. It is about Dona Maria I, the first undisputed Queen of Portugal. Um, she was queen in the 1700s after the famous Lisbon earthquake and into the 1800s. She is known in Portugal as Maria the Pious and in Brazil as Maria the Mad because she lost her shit and went crazy. So I've been writing about her. The show is told from her perspective. It's about her life and what she's going through. I'll perform some snippets of it today. I have been writing it as like a monologue, and then when I'm like, okay, there should be a song here, I'll put my computer away and write the song, and then I'm like, okay, great, and then I go back to writing the script. So yeah, how did this all start? Hi. This project is several years in the making. It started with a Wikipedia search about earthquakes. I live on a fault line in Memphis, which like really freaks me out. So I was reading all about earthquakes on Wikipedia, and I learned about the 1755 earthquake here in Lisbon. And I thought that it was really crazy that I had never heard of this before, especially in this time period in the 1700s, like right before the American Revolution, right before the French Revolution, like the Age of Enlightenment is coming and this huge thing happens. And I just never knew that it happened. But I was really moved by the fact that the king at the time, King Jose, was like really freaked out by this. Him and the royal family, they weren't in Lisbon, they were in Belém, like a little bit outside of the main city center, and they watched it happen from the hills, and they like watched all these people dying. And he was so like upset by this that he refused to live in walled buildings ever again, like no stone buildings. He lived in these like wooden tents basically for the rest of his life. And I just thought that I was just like, wow, people don't change. Like we're just like fucking neurotic and just weird, and you know, like we see some traumatic thing happen and we're like, I'm not living in a stone wall again. So I just thought about how like, you know, the scenery changes and technology changes, but the core function of like who we are as people is kind of consistent throughout time. And so I wrote a poem for a college class about King Jose in 2022, like way before I ever came here. And that was the first piece of art that I ever made about this whole time period. And I'll read it to you. It goes like this. Sometimes, alone in his tent, he would pray to become a bird. He bargained. He didn't need brightly colored feathers or to inspire anyone. A pigeon would be fine. He wondered how many lifeless pigeons lay beneath the crumpled buildings, their hollow legs filled with ash or water from the Tejo. Lisbon, city of only broken bones. He played the song of cracking marble, his wife wailing as she birthed their daughter, the priest screaming, "Repent." He approximated when the saints left the city. He imagined them as paper dolls and walked them back inside. Please, if I could hold them in my palm how they have held me, but what is left to hold? He escaped the burning, a victory he won by loving God. But sometimes he hated God and all his lifeless pigeons and all the sounds he gave people to make when they're breaking. Anger is a kind of food, and he ate until he was sick with it. Hot on the tongue and heavy in the belly, sometimes shaking with his fullness, he'd wrap his hand around a burning candle and close his fist around the light. That was the first thing I made about Jose, his daughter, Maria. This slide is from another college class where we were told to give a presentation about like a special interest that we have. And I did like a 30-minute presentation about the earthquake for the class. So this slide, I just took a screenshot of it. It's some of the things I've already talked to you guys about, but it's just been a long-standing interest for me. And so when I was looking up residencies and I saw one here at Zaratan in Lisbon, I was like, I have to go there. So leading up to the residency, I spent a year trying to learn Portuguese to some marginal success. I read a lot of books about the earthquake and the royal family. This one biography, The Madness of Queen Maria, is really what I ended up basing my project off of. So it's that is like really what I'm using, just almost as like a pure adaptation of like how this author sees Maria's life, and then informed by other things I've read as well. Originally I thought that I would focus on King Jose, but he was kind of just like broing out, like hunting and vibing, so he wasn't a super like interesting character. So and then I thought I'd focus on the Marquis de Pombal, but Pombal is the guy, if you don't know, who was like the main Secretary of State for the king after the earthquake, and he really like took over and ruled with an iron fist, rebuilt Lisbon and all this stuff. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll do something about him. But when I was thinking about Maria, I was just really interested by like all of the things that she felt. Like to me, feelings are like so much more accessible and real than just like thoughts and like politicking and all these things that Pombal was more about. So I ended up really focusing on Maria. And when I came to Lisbon in November, I did not know what my project was going to be. I was just like, we're going to get there and we're just going to see what happens. So I just was, reading and walking around and just like thinking about what the hell I'm going to do. I spent basically a week just doing tons of research. So I reread some books. I found the British Historical Society of Portugal and read all these like contemporary documents they had. The British Historical Society is a major slay because a lot of stuff about Portuguese history is obviously written in Portuguese. And I can read it decently, but not very quickly. So it was like a great resource to have the British Historical Society. So I was reading, I was visiting all these different sites around Lisbon and the surrounding areas where the royal family and like these characters would have been. I was listening to like 18th century operas and all this like weird old church music. Just having a weird time listening to that. I was like trying to learn how to pray the rosary because they're all like really Catholic and I'm like really not. So yeah, I was like learning about Catholicism. And I started writing this sort of like historical drama, like a straightforward just play, like about this time. And it was fine, but I deleted all of it. So I like started writing it and I just felt kind of like limited. I felt like I was outside of my strengths in like a way that wasn't challenging in a fun way, but I was just kind of like, what am I doing? So I was also thinking like, how am I going to independently produce this like historical drama that's so expensive? So I was like, yeah, fuck this. And I deleted it and started over. And I was like, I can do a one-woman show about Maria told from her perspective, like in this sort of liminal purgatory state. That gives me so much flexibility that the part could be portrayed by anyone of any age because she lived to be like a super old woman. So there's like some cool things like depending on the age of the performer, like you get different parts of her story. She, towards the end of her life, or for like the last 20 years of her life, was convinced that she was living in hell, like she was really going through it. Maybe she was right, I don't know. And so I just thought like this is a little bit more flexibility for me as an artist to like tell from this perspective than just being like chronologically like this happened and this happened and this happened. So that's what I started doing. Like I said, I've basically been just adapting this book. So I'll like look at the book and highlight specific scenes I want to include and write like her monologuing, and then I'll be like, there should be a song here, and I'll write this and I'll play you the songs. And that's how I've been doing it. For me, like drafting is like not fun. I like do not enjoy it at all. I have a lot more fun like revising and tightening and like making things work. So this part has been like a slog. So yeah, I've been doing that. Some things about Maria. She embodies this struggle between like church and state. and the clash between like the old Catholicism and the Age of Enlightenment that was coming, and all these like new thoughts that were going on. I'm interested in like how she perceived her fate. Like she had all these things, she wanted to be a nun, but she like had to be the queen, and she felt like no one could help her, like no one could ease her suffering, that she was like she had to suffer, she had to be in hell. And it's sort of in this like sick irony, like the thing that had brought her so much comfort through her life, her faith, like in the end of her life really made her like more in agony. Like when she would talk to her priests and her confessors and stuff, she would leave and be like freaking out, like I'm going to hell, oh my god, and just totally like overwhelmed and stressed out. So I don't know, there's like this sort of like sad dramatic irony to that. And as a musician, there is so much sound to engage with in her life. Like there's this rich palette of sounds throughout her life, like the chains like wrapped around people's ankles as they're like walking in penitence through the street. There's like self-flagellation and the burning and the water from the earthquake and like the sounds of buildings crumbling. They did a lot of like really fucked up executions at this time period, so there's like lots of gross sounds associated with that. There's like 21 gun salutes that were done in celebration of the royal family, which like towards the, again the end of her life, like would drive her crazy, like hearing these sounds. So I'm just really interested in like what she was hearing and how she was feeling about that in her life. So that is something that I've been thinking about while I'm working on this. I'll play you some examples of this. There's 2 songs I've made so far that use sampling of these types of noises to like make a beat. So I'll show you, but it's like the sound of bones like snapping and chains and burning and screaming, which like was kind of like not that cute to like hear in my headphones over and over, but it's cool. Yeah. So for me, the point of a first draft is just to make something exist, and then you make it better, like going on. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm just trying to make this exist. I spent a lot of time like actually just walking around Lisbon and like enjoying that, because I won't have access to that when I go home to the States. It's exciting that because its show is basically one performer acting and singing, there are so many ways to interpolate it into different mediums, like in film, in recorded audio, on stage. And that's something that I learned from The Long Goodbye, which had this huge cast of like literally like there was 20 dancers on stage, and that was really cool. But when we wanted to like travel with the show or do like recordings of the show, is like prohibitively expensive, so it limited what I was able to do. And so I'm trying to like take those lessons and think about how I can apply them to something that I will be able to do more with. So hopefully this will be workable, and we'll be like at the Fringe Festival next year or the year after, and adapting this work into some of the mediums I just mentioned. That concludes the artist talk portion of the artist talk before the performance. I have this little crown. I actually wore this at my wedding. So when I'm doing the performance, I'll put this on when I'm supposed to be Maria, and then I'll take it off to talk to you about the song, and I'll be Emily again, just so you know. You can follow me on Instagram, erookstagram. I have an email address, hello@Emily Rooker, my name. I really suck at social media and kind of hate social media, so I write a Substack, which is like a newsletter that is emailed. So you can sign up to hear about what I'm doing and get updates about this show at sadgirlenterprises.substack.com. That's what it's called. Yeah, you can hear my music by looking at my name. Any questions? You guys have any questions about the project or me or anything?
After the presentation, because I'm curious.
Okay. Elizabeth said, play me some music now. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Hey.
It's not a question. It's just something that must be said. I'm a geologist, and I came late, and the first word I heard was earthquake, and it's just amazing. Okay, and thank you by bring geological phenomena to the art because yeah, it must be done. Okay.
Yeah. I agree. Hell yeah, brother. Slay. Thank you. What's your name?
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel. Love you. Thank you for saying that. Okay. I will perform you some music now. Let me see. I've got an agenda over here because I'm forgetful. Bling. Okay. So the first one I'm gonna do is actually I'm gonna pull up the Logic project, which is like my where I work in open. It keeps doing this to me. Music. Oh, you're right. Thank you. It's so small and I can't see. Shut up. Okay. So this, when I wrote this into the show, this is very towards the beginning, and Maria is like looking out of this fake palace window that she thinks she's in, thinking about like these hooded penitents walking by with their chains, and then she like remembers the auto de fe, which is like a ritual execution where people are burned alive. That was Portugal's own. They came up with that one, very original. And she's like talking to her grandfather, King João, who was like Portugal's sun king, kind of. So anyway, you can hear in this like the chains going by. And then we're gonna hear fire coming, which is like representing people getting burned. Over top of this, there will be like a monologue of some kind, but I'm like not loving a monologue I have written, so that's why we're just listening. Okay, there's gonna be screaming soon, like people dying. And then all of these little pieces that create this drum beat are like chains, rattling, screaming noises. Yeah, different chains and stuff like that. Okay, so that's that. The coronation trumpets at the end, it's supposed to go from like this dream of this execution into her dad, Maria's dad, King Jose, like being crowned king. So that's like what the coronation trumpets are. Okay, now I'm gonna put this cool picture that I painted up here. And I will play you some music on my piano. So you will watch me awkwardly move this piano. Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna grab the microphone really quick. So the next song that I will play for you is called Senhor dos Passos, which is the name of this little saint. Like a bunch of people in the 1700s, they had these little saintly dolls, and a lot of times they were family heirlooms. And people would like if they weren't getting what they were praying for, they would like twist the head on their saint doll and be like, "Come on!" So there was something like really common that a lot of people had, and Maria, when she was, thank you. This is my husband. Give it up for him. Maria, when she was 18, she got like really sick and almost, I gotta get my crown ready. Hold on. Locked and loaded. She got really sick and actually almost died. And with all this like pomp and circumstance, there was a procession of this little Senhora dos Passos statue that they brought up, and they put it in the room with her, and she got better like a few days later. And they were like, "Oh my God, it saved her life." And she believed that as well. And that like really made her much more devoted as a Catholic. And of course, after the earthquake, the little statue was recovered from the convent ruins. So she was like, "I knew it. It's blessed." So this song is called, like I said, Senhora dos Passos, and it is told from her perspective about this experience. Crown on. Hello. I was only 18. Fever took over me. All I had with me, my Lord, my God, oh Jesus. They bled me 6 times an evening. Still my body was weakening. Thought that I might meet my Lord, my God, oh Jesus. My Lord, my God, oh Jesus. My Lord, my God, oh Jesus. Then up from the convent, a procession for miles. I saw the darkness gathering around us. Then a miracle upon us. Milagre sobre nós. O Senhor dos Passos. O Senhor dos Passos. My Lord, my God, oh Jesus. My Lord, my Lord, my God, oh Jesus. Senhor dos Passos, o Senhor dos Passos. little song about her statue that saved her life. Next in the play, there's like more monologue, and Maria talks about her hatred of the Marquis de Pombal. He was ruling with an iron fist. He was jailing people. He was like hanging beggars in the street. And more than anything, after the earthquake, he was expelling Jesuits from the city, the new Christians. And he was like imprisoning them for political reasons, but saying it was for religious reasons. And this really affected Maria a lot. She was like really upset by this. She felt like because her dad, the king, was like signing off on these things, that his soul was like damned as well. Like that if you were persecuting God's representatives on earth, like surely that is not an acceptable thing to do. So she's like really upset. So in this section, I have her like talking about how she can't understand why Pombal is doing this, and like what about all these people who died in church, and what does everything mean? And in the streets, people were saying misericordia, the end is near. So they were saying mercy, like have mercy on us. And I love this word because in English, misery is very different from mercy, but that word sounds more like misery than mercy. So this song is called Misericordia, and it's about how Maria feels about Pombal and how he sucks, basically. Imagine thinking you know anything after you see the earth opening up. Imagine after the river swallowing the sky. After you hear sons and daughters begging not to die, saying Misericordia, Misericordia. I know you whispering in my father's ear, who needs to go? He signed the edict to expel the priests in Christ's new order. His soul will bear the burden, but you're the one who wrote it. You decide for the king, and everybody knows it. So many victims of your rotten aspirations. Will you comfort them, those poor people singing Misericordia, Misericordia. People call me superstitious, folklorish and simple compared to your ambition. I do pray, but I also listen. Misericordia, Misericordia, Misericordia. Thank you. Okay, so the next one, I have to go back to my computer and I'll tell you what was going on with it as I go over there. So I gotta make sure this doesn't scream at us, so give me a second. Oh wait, I need my crown, hold on. Very important. So I don't know. There was an assassination attempt on the king shortly after the earthquake, and this really fucked people up. They were like, the earthquake is one thing that we might be able to accept, but someone trying to kill the king is like, it's unfathomable. And these people who were alleged to be involved in this assassination attempt were the Duke of Aveiro, and then this family called the Taboras. And the king was actually sleeping with one of the Taboras, one of the married Taboras. So he was out on his way to see his hoe, and someone took a shot at him. And Pombal was like, I'm going to kill all these Taboras. And he did in a very gruesome public execution. Like the women, the men, some of their servants were all like tied to St. Andrew's crosses. They were choked. They were hit with hammers. And it was like disgusting. Like people were really appalled, even though in Lisbon at that time there was a lot of like really crazy executions going on. This was exceptional even by Portuguese standards. And this was also a noble family. So it was just not really heard of to execute a noble family in this manner. And again, Maria was really affected by this. She was really shocked by this. She had been friends with the Marquesa, like the matriarch of the family, and she like watched her get executed. And so she was really like, Pombal is not it for me. I hate him, still hate him. He still sucks. And so this next song is also, it's made with like a beat that is made from the sounds of bones crunching. It's made from the sounds of like hammers hitting skin because they were like hammering people to death. It's not actually any of those things. It's like hammers hitting cabbages and stuff like that. So I didn't like pull this from any like snuff films. It's like glass bottles breaking and stuff that's meant to sound like those horrific things I just said. And so where I put this in the show is that it's like the day after the execution, and Maria is thinking about all these horrible sounds that she heard the day before and thinking about what's going on. And something that would happen often in like the noble court life is that people would line up to like kiss the king's hand and the queen and the princesses. And that was like one of their fun activities that they would do. So this is told from the perspective that that is going on the day after all these people were murdered. No. We skipped ahead. Hold on, this is wrong. I bounced this wrong. Okay, we're gonna have to skip this one because I made a mistake. But you can hear the beat a little bit. Okay, you'll have to come see the show someday to hear the full song. But yeah, that will be like playing underneath her, and I apologize because I'm having a technical issue that is preventing me from performing that, but we move on. Okay, we're not gonna feedback. Come here, pal. This next song is called Something Good, and it is a love song written for Maria's husband, who was her uncle. This is like really common, and marrying her to her uncle, who was also like almost 20 years older than her, was her grandfather's idea. They were like, it just makes sense. And it actually did, for like some boring reasons that I won't get into, kind of make sense. So yeah, she was 25, which was like pretty old for a queen, but they had to really make sure that her claim to the throne could not be contested by like marrying the wrong person. So they were like, we'll just keep it in the family and no one will be able to say anything that we ever did was wrong. So yeah, but even though that's kind of like crazy to think about, being like this romantic time, she was really excited. Like she was really happy to have a family. She really didn't enjoy like being part of the royal life, and she really enjoyed the domestic side of life and just going to pray with her husband and going to parties at his house, Kalush Palace. She was like, this is it for me. So it was actually like a really good moment. And so that is the point of view I wrote the song from without even a hint of irony. After years of suffering, something good, finally a man to love. And I promised him I'd build something good, a church on a hill for our son. After years of suffering, something good, finally a man to love. And his body was warm against me, it felt good, I was happy at last. It just made sense, unlike the year before, which was confusing and wrong. Here comes a man whose sole ambition in life was to hold me up, to help me out and keep me strong. It just made sense, unlike the year before, which was confusing and wrong. Here comes a man whose sole ambition in life was to stand behind the crown and hold me, keep me strong. After years of suffering, something good, finally a man to love. And I wanted to build him something good. After years of suffering, something good, I was happy at last. Something good. Try to marry your uncle every now and then. So the last song that I have written for this project for the time being is called Dorotea, which is the name of Maria's sister. And like after Maria married Pedro and had some children and things were kind of going well, there was like a big celebration for her that the Catholic Church was putting on, like the Vatican, the Pope. And it was supposed to be like this happy occasion, but she was just thinking about her sister who was dying in the hospital. And her sister and her, she had, I think, 3 sisters total. And they were all close. They learned music together. They did all the court life things together. And her sister, Dorotea, died when she was 31 years old. And she had suffered for like 7 years from this mysterious illness. Basically, she went crazy. She was like in hysterics for 7 years. And this is the same illness that was eventually going to come for Maria. So this song is basically told from Maria's perspective of like reminiscing about Dorotea and feeling like I'm going crazy too, and hell is like all around me, and like I kind of just want to die and be with my sister. And so that's what this song is about. Dorotea, Tea, Dorotea, don't wake up, This world is dangerous if I'm in the world. Oh my god, I turned on the metronome. If I'm in the world at all, Dorothea, the day's growing dark from the masters of art, from the prayers in the hall, the shadows on the wall, there's no comfort at all. Dorothea, there's no savior for me. Dorothea, could you say a good word for me? Dorothea, 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 I'm not in the world at all. Can I go with you where you are? Dorothea, don't let me stay here without you too long. Dorothea, some days I'm so far away, my mind's so wrong. I'm awake, but I'm dreaming. What will it take to die, Dorothea? Dorothea. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. That concludes the artist talk and the performance. Again, I'm Emily Rooker, and I'm going to come down where I can see you and not just this bright heavenly light. If you have any questions.
Just an observation.
Okay, sure.
It's not a question. It's just more of a sharing how it was having you here. For me, it was like a very curious experience because usually people, when they are in their creative process, they're really hoarding on the material that they're producing, and you carry such confidence with your flow that you were just able to just delete everything and start from scratch. And then, I mean, this was around midway through. It was not even like I just spent a few days working on it. No, it was midway through, just before the holidays, and then you produce all this body of work in such a short period of time. So I'm just amazed at what a powerhouse you are, and
Thank you.
thank you for that.
Thank you, friend. Yeah, I told Elizabeth and I became friends over the time I was in the residency, and I told her, like, I mean, something I actually really struggle with, like, just letting myself, like, be. Like, I really try to, like, manage myself really aggressively and have, like, a lot of discipline. And actually, like, the only time that, like, music comes out of me is if I'm just, like, chilling, like, just doing whatever, which is very hard to just just trust that, like, you're an artist, you're gonna be an artist, art is gonna keep coming out of you because that's what you love doing. And so, yeah, like, a lot of times I was here, I was just, like, walking around, just being like, yeah, just let yourself vibe and trust that when you sit down in the piano, like, songs are gonna come out, which is exactly what happened. So I know, like, there's a lot of artists in here, and I don't know if any of you guys struggle with that, but yeah, you just gotta just unclench those fists and just chill the fuck out. Yeah.
The other thing, sorry. No, it was just another thing, which was also how you were here in the residency here in Lisbon, and I'm curious how that affected your process, because you shared that your interest in this, especially with the earthquake, and then the historical figures stems from for such a long time. So I wonder how being here presently and taking your 2-hour walks every day affected that your vision and the feel, and I'm sure that it affected it somehow. But yeah, what type of flavor?
Yeah.
And what type of how to say? Yeah, what was
What
it?
flavor?
Yeah, what the flavor of the town?
I have no idea, honestly. Like, I'm sure that it did affect me because I wrote all of this while I was here, so there's no way to know what would have been like if I never came here. But coming here was like such a dream for me. Like, I had been reading about this stuff, and I'm really not like a history nerd. Like, I've never been like big into history. It doesn't seem like that based on, I'm sure, hearing me talk, but yeah, that's never been like a big interest of mine. So I don't know what it is about the story and the place that just really just drew me to it. So yeah, coming to Lisbon was like literally like a dream come true. And I think the most way that it affected me was that I got to visit the Basilica de Estrela, which is like right up this hill back behind us. And Maria like had this built to commemorate her son's birth. And so I felt like, you know, she was a singer, but not like an artist, but to like stand in front of this thing that was like the crowning achievement of her life and like this huge body of work, I felt like I actually get kind of emotional. Like, I'm kind of actually a huge like crybaby, so excuse me. But I was thinking about how like that's what we want, like as artists and as human, is to like have something that represents our life after we're gone that people can come like marvel at. I'm crying already. Okay, great. So yeah, I just was like, I get that. And so I like to go there and like just witness like this random lady like 300 years ago, she died. And now like this American girl in 2024 is like, I'm obsessed with you and your life. And so it was cool to like be able to go and see something and stand where she would stand and just kind of like, yeah, commune with her. Yeah. Yeah. Is that Lucas back there? Hey!
So it's really funny because about 6 weeks ago, I stumbled upon this story. I was just like, why Marquês de Pombal was not your favorite afterwards. And
Yeah.
that led me into this rabbit hole, exactly, this whole story.
Yes!
So, really funny coincidence.
Yeah.
And I just was on Wikipedia all night.
Yeah.
And diving into this. So, it's really cool to hear.
Yeah.
You spoke about some listening.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really crazy. I have some book recommendations for you if you want to read. Do you speak Portuguese? Somewhat. Okay, there is like this really shitty like web series level show called The Tabora Affair. Like, there's no fucking subtitles, so you just gotta struggle through. Yeah, but it's a slay. You can find it online. It's about him killing all of them. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I'm a singer. And I like when I go, I've done 2 residencies in 2024, and part of what I thought was fun about it was doing something that I probably wouldn't let myself do at home, because I would just be like, there's no time. And for me on this residency, it was painting, because I like painting. I think it's fun, but it's like, you know, I don't know how to do that. I never learned. So yeah, I like copied this picture of Maria off of a book cover that I had with watercolor, and I was like, it looks kind of cool. So yeah, I used that as the artwork for this, and it was just like a happy accident, just of letting myself like, yeah, vibe. Yeah. Yeah.
In the small world of things, though I live here in Lisbon, my hometown is Memphis.
Are you
Whoa.
serious?
That's where my family's from.
Oh my God, what's your name?
McCallagher.
Callagher.
Yeah, I'll give you a card later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You live here now?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, there's even like half a block of my family's names on a street still somewhere.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's
Where in
crazy.
Michigan?
We are from Metro Detroit, so
Oh,
like
okay.
the lower part of the Lower Peninsula. And in Memphis, I live right across from the Liberty Bowl.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
I never knew Memphis was on a fault.
Yeah.
That's news to me, but
Scary.
and growing up in Memphis, I swear I don't think anyone even knew where Portugal was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a crazy world there, but I think it's really fascinating, this historical aspect, and a great presentation.
Thank you.
This is great. Do you know about? Have you ever heard of NAMT?
No.
National Alliance for Musical Theater.
Oh.
They're in New York. That's where I moved here from.
Okay.
They have an annual new musical festival. It's all showcase stuff, casting, production, the whole
Nice.
thing. I think it'd be.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go there.
I can give you some info.
Yeah, please.
I don't think they've closed applications for this year's festival yet. It's in October.
Okay, cool.
So
Happy
yeah.
anniversary to
Yeah,
us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yay.
So, obviously, I've seen you doing all this research and diving in.
This is my husband, Nate.
Yeah, sorry, I've seen her on the Wikipedia pages. But, when you came here, you knew generally it was going to be about this sort of larger cast of characters in this larger time period. And since you've been here and I haven't seen you, you've honed in on Maria. So
Yeah.
I was curious if there was like a specific, anecdote from her life that sort of drew you in. What was your conversion moment? Because I think
Yeah.
when you left and we were talking about this, it was more Pombal
Yeah.
focused.
I mean,
and then
Pombal,
more the
yeah.
tension between the two of them.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious if there's a specific thing that drew you to Maria.
Yeah. So Pombal and Maria, it's so poetic that it almost feels like it was scripted for television. Like Pombal representing like the new world, yeah, like the age of reason and the Enlightenment, and Maria representing like this old world and like just religion over everything and the monarchy. And even like Maria was exiled when Napoleon was coming to Portugal, and when her family came back after she had died, like everything was different. Like people have described the royal family getting off the boat here in Lisbon as like that they came from a picture in the past. Like over the course of 20 years, they were just like totally left behind. So I love like their clash from like a bitchy, like petty personal way, because they were just like, I don't like you, but also from like this broader what they represent. But what drew me to Maria specifically was her, she said to this doctor, so this doctor, his name was Walpole, and he treated Charles III of England. They had the same disease, like it's, what did I say? Charles, sorry. George, yes. Yeah, George, sorry. Anyway, they had the same disease that they suffered from, and like he went crazy, and he had this doctor who like came and like fixed him. And so they called this Dr. Walpole to Portugal to help out Maria. And she said to the doctor, like it's on record of saying like, a skilled physician may cure madness, but can never reverse the decrees of fate. So she basically said like, you might be able to like fix my brain, but this is like bigger than my brain. This is about me and God and like hell. And I live for drama. So I was like, that's very dramatic. And I just think like there's something really relatable to me personally about like being so locked into your own suffering that it's hard to like accept help or like see outside of that. Obviously for me and her, it's like very different ways, but I feel like I understand that experience. And that is really what I was like, I want to go this direction.
What was the disease?
It's called, I'm going to fuck up the name. It's called like porphyria. And it's porphyria.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Porphyria's leather.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just makes you insane. And there was so much fucking inbreeding that like all these royal people had this.
I was going to ask who was her mother in relation to her father?
Her mother was Mariana Victoria. She was Spanish.
Uh-huh.
So they were probably like cousins, but they weren't she wasn't a Braganza. They weren't like directly related. Yeah. Yeah.
I was wondering, the presentation was this, by the way, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
To hear you live singing was very based on your voice and the piano.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly you also showed this research about sound that come from your historical research. I'm curious if, maybe it's too early to tell, but how the story and if the earthquake will be present into the story, if you're thinking about different way to apply the sound to the story. Just because, of course, we're seeing you in a minimal format, you're traveling with your piano. I'm just curious to see if you have already picture in your mind something more complex or how it will evolve in the future.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it would be crazy to not have like something relating to the earthquake like in the show. So in what I've written, she does talk about it, like what she was witnessing and seeing and just how crazy it was. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, the answer is I don't know. And we're just going to find out as we like keep swimming towards the end of this. Yeah.
Do you have a beginning for the show yet? I mean, maybe I missed that.
Yeah, so it's like a one-woman show that I'm writing. I have it's monologue and song. So she's like sort of in this liminal space, like before she dies, like reminiscing on her life. So I have like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure how much it translates into time, but I do have like pages of the monologue written. I'm just like very strict about what I'm okay with sharing with written like stuff because it hasn't been revised. It's like not good right now, but it is started. Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
Good luck with it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for coming. It's like really great to see people here in a place that I don't live, in a country that I'm not from. So thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you. Yeah. Thank you. Cool.